Okay, so we are going to start this one on number 12. Number 12 is a combining like terms. So you can either stack these or you can put them together. So if you are going to I would probably stack them and rewrite them. Put p to the third, 3p squared, negative 7p. Then the next one, I have to make sure I distribute this negative sign to all three of them. So I have negative p squared, a positive 6p to the third, and a negative 7p. And then my last one is 5p squared, 4p, and 4p to the third. Okay, so then I can add all those together. So I have 11p to the thirds. And because it's multiple choice, you don't even have to go any further than that, and you know that it's going to be C. Finding the product of this is just how to FOIL. So you can write it all out if you want. Your first is going to be here, which is 21m squared. My outside is going this way, 9m. Inside is negative 49m. And my last is negative 21. So the only one that has three terms, and then those will combine like terms to give you negative 40. The only one that does that is letter C. Okay, number 15, we're going with division on this. So my suggestion for you would be to do synthetic division because that's the easier one. So we need to write this out in order. So I'm going to have n to the third. I have 0n squareds, negative 16n, and negative 6. This is important. Don't forget your 0n squared, because if you do, you won't have the correct synthetic division. So we have 1, 0, negative 16, and negative 6. And then I take this, and I do the opposite of it. So what goes in the box is negative 4. So I drop down the 1, I multiply it by negative 4, and get negative 4. That gives me negative 4. Multiply that to get a positive 16, which gives me 0. Multiply by 0, and I get negative 16. This is a negative 6, not a negative 16. Sorry. So I have remainder, number, x, and x squared. So I have 1x squared minus 4x. And then my remainder is this negative 6. So that gives me letter A. 16, we're dividing this again. I'm going to go ahead and put it in order. So I have n to the 5th plus n to the 4th minus 87n to the 3rd minus 24n squared minus 35n plus 72. Okay, so then if I write these out in terms of digits, I have 1, 1, negative 87, negative 24, negative 35, and 72. If I rewrite this is really saying n minus 9. So this should be a positive 9 that goes inside my box because I do the opposite of it. So drop down my 1, multiply it by 9 to get 9. 10, this gives me 90, which gives me a positive 3. 27, which gives me a positive 3. 27 again, which gives me negative 8, which gives me a negative 72. And gives me a remainder of 0. So the only option that doesn't have a remainder in this multiple choice is D. Our next one is writing polynomial functions when you're given roots from this. So remember that these always have opposites. So I have x minus 2i and x plus 2i. Then our square roots also have opposites. So I have x minus root 10 and x plus root 10. So I'm going to FOIL both of these separately, and then I'm going to combine them together. So when I FOIL this one together, I get x squared minus 2ix plus 2ix minus 4i squared. So what happens is those are going to go away. So now I have x squared minus 4i squared. Remember that I squared is really negative 1, so that's really negative 4 times negative 1. So you have x squared plus 4. So then I'm going to jump over here and do my square roots. So I have x squared minus root 10x plus root 10x and minus root 100. Those are going to go away. So I get x squared minus the square root of 100. Well, the square root of 100 is 10. So you get x squared minus 10. And for your final answer, you're going to FOIL these two together. So you're going to get x to the fourth minus 10x squared plus 4x squared minus 40. Combine your like terms for a final answer of x to the fourth minus 6x squared minus 40, which is letter A. The same thing on number 18, except this time when you have digit numbers, you don't have to do the opposites of that. So what you need to remember is how to do this. I need to take negative 1/3 and set it equal to x. So now I'm going to move this to the other side, and I get negative 1 equals 3x, and then I'm going to add that to the other side and get 0 equals 3x plus 1. And what you could do is think of it as like bottom goes with the x opposite of the top. That'll work too. So our first set of points is 3x plus 1. Then my negative 4, well, the opposite of that is going to be x plus 4. And then this one with the 0 is just going to be x. Okay, so my suggestion to you, well, you can go a couple different ways. If you want to FOIL these together first, you can. It really doesn't matter because it's multiplication. So I have 3x squared plus 12x plus x plus 4. Then I have 3x squared plus 13x plus 4. And now I have this x that I still have to multiply by. So when I multiply by that x, I get 3x to the third plus 13x squared plus 4x, which is letter A. (19) We're finding all the possible roots of this. So this is Descartes' theorem. So when we do Descartes, remember that we have positives and negatives. So we have to look at P of x. So P of x is looking at this one. Okay, when we look at that one, it goes positive, negative, negative, positive, positive, negative. So there's one sign change here, one sign change here, so that would be 2, and 1 here. So we have 3. Okay, so when we're making our table, our positives, we're going to have 3, or we can take out a pair and have 1. So then we do P of negative x. So that means we're going to switch all of our odds. Okay, so we're going to switch our odds. So the evens are going to stay the same. So it's going to be plus, plus, minus, minus, plus, plus. So sign changes here. You have 1, 2. So for negatives, we're going to have 2, or I can take out a pair and have 0. So the one that has that, 3 and 1 and 2 and 0, is letter B. Okay, so remember when you're doing P of negative x, that you're only changing the negatives, and P of x is going to be changing the positives with that. Finding all the roots of this one. Okay, so when I look at this, I automatically think 4 parts. I'm going to look at grouping. So if I group this, I can take out x squared, and I'm left with x minus 1. Here I can take out a positive 3, and I'm left with x minus 1. So now I have x squared plus 3 and x minus 1. So if you're finding the actual roots, you're trying to set these equal to 0. So I'm saying x squared plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. Well, this one's the easy one, because you're going to add this, and you're going to get 1. Okay, so you can already eliminate these two. So then this one, subtract 3 to the other side. I have x squared equals negative 3. Then I want to take the square root of negative 3. Well, as soon as you see a square root, you're taking out I root 3, and remember that it's plus or minus of that. So you have the 2 answers that go with that and give you A. 21 is the same way. So what I would look at first is the fact that there's a common x in all of those. So if you take out an x, then I have x to the 4th minus 12x squared plus 32. So now I can go into what multiplies to 32 and adds to negative 12. Well, negative 8 and negative 4 are going to do that. So I'm going to leave this x out in front, and then I'm going to go long way. X to the 4th. Oh, I don't have to go long way on this one. So I have x squared minus 8, and x squared minus 4. Well, this factors down into x plus 2 and x minus 2. So this is going to give me 0. This is going to give me negative 2 and positive 2. This one is going to give me the square root of 8, when I move it to the other side? Well, 8 breaks down into 2 and 4 and 2 and 2. So you get plus or minus